Hello, I'm Melanie Wilson, and I'm the CEO of Cancer Care Services. Let's take a stroll down memory lane. How many of you enjoyed the swinging hits from the big band music of the 40s? Anybody enjoy that? Yay! Well, hopefully the music got you in the mood to step back in time with me. Cancer Care Services was born in 1946, right here in Fort Worth. Harry Truman was president. The average monthly rent was $35. The Andrews sisters were pop icons, and they still are today in my life. And It's a Wonderful Life was playing at the picture show. Tickets were 55 cents. But it was not a wonderful life for low-income cancer patients. So a group of incredibly progressive doctors and community leaders created a pioneering agency to help these patients. And their dream is what brought us here today. They created a legacy 75 years ago that has served around 150,000 people. Many of you have been around and been involved in making that happen. In the past decade alone, so this is just the past 10 years, we have given $4.5 million in financial assistance, like health insurance premiums and medication copays, directly to impoverished cancer patients and survivors, just like our founders envisioned. So clearly, our commitment to healing and hope remains as strong as today as it was in 1946. COVID has changed our world because something unthinkable happened, which was a global pandemic. COVID had a deadly impact on cancer. Screenings declined by 80 to 90% last year for the three most common cancers. Cancer did not decline, but mammograms and colonoscopies were canceled. This means cancer will be found at a later stage, and that lowers survival rates. So I know what it means to be diagnosed with cancer at a late stage because it happened to me. My cancer was found after it had already spread, so my treatments were more extensive and extreme, but I survived. My husband, Dana, his cancer was also diagnosed at a later stage, and like me, he suffered severe consequences as a result, but he survived. And then my teenage daughter was diagnosed with cancer, every parent's nightmare, and her cancer was at a late stage. Had we found Lauren's cancer early, surgery would have saved her life. But by the time she was finally diagnosed, she had metastatic cancer, and it was everywhere. So my beautiful Lauren died 16 days after her 21st birthday. But many of you have also experienced cancer in your lives too. Some of you are survivors, or maybe you've cared for someone with cancer, or maybe you've lost someone you love. Regardless of how cancer has impacted you, I hope you were surrounded by a loving circle of support like I was. But during my 11 years at Cancer Care Services, I have witnessed so many people who are not as lucky. They are going through this alone. And that's why Cancer Care Services exists. We become their support system. We become their family. And it's our honor to do that. So, during COVID, we provided uninterrupted services. We had to get really creative, and we had to be safe, but our services never stopped, not for one moment. We also added a COVID emergency fund to ensure clients' life-sustaining needs were met, like having a roof over their heads and having food on their tables. And although fundraising suffered greatly during the pandemic, our commitment to providing 100% of all of our programs and services for free never wavered. We also remained focused on reducing health disparities. So we actually expanded our community health worker program, and we formed brand new community partnerships. These service milestones were made possible because of our generous and loyal contributors and mission partners, including our wonderful Legacy of Hope Giving Society members. Thank you to all of you. I'm a member too. I love it. I would also like to thank Texas Oncology, our presenting sponsor. You not only are a financial supporter, but you provide compassionate care for so many of our patients, including me, including my husband, including my daughter. So thank you for what you do for us. My vision for cancer care services is that because we are here, no one will ever have to cope with cancer alone. But I realize this is a really tall order because cancer care services is in recovery mode due to the pandemic. Because of the alarming decline in cancer screenings, there are literally thousands of people right now who do not know they have cancer, and they don't know they need us yet. But they will, and we must be prepared. But how, you may ask? And I ask the same question. Well, first we have to recover what we lost during the pandemic. My greatest fear is that I won't always be able to say yes when a client comes to cancer care and asks for help. And when they've been diagnosed late, they're going to need even more help. So I want to make sure that we continue to do everything that we need to do for them. People after the pandemic, especially with cancer, on top of that, they're in more desperate situations, medically, emotionally, and financially. So speaking of financial desperation, these days, cancer patients need help with more than just their medical expenses. And so we want to keep our COVID emergency fund alive as long as there is a need. We must also do even more to reduce disparities in our county. Did you know that African Americans have the highest death rate, and shortest survival rate in the United States for our most common cancers? Shocking. Did you know that the number one cause of death is cancer for our Hispanic population? So we have a lot of work to do. We must also do even more to really build up our community health worker program. These are specially trained people who go out into the community and they build trust with our most vulnerable communities. So meeting the needs of local cancer patients, survivors, and caregivers matters. It matters to me, and I know it matters to you, or you would not be here today. So those of you who know me know that I'm a hugger. So I wish there was a way for me to give a big, grateful hug to every single person who rolled up their sleeves 75 years ago and brought this beautiful agency to life. Little did they know in 1946 that we would be gathered here today and we would be honoring them and the hundreds of thousands of human beings whose lives have been forever changed because they did not cope with their cancer alone, thanks to us. So now we need you to ensure that cancer care thrives for another 75 years. Together, we can continue providing help and hope for free for everyone who is affected by cancer in Tarrant County. It's now my pleasure to introduce some friends who really want to share why they love cancer care and how it's impacted their lives, including a friend of mine, Cara Jackson. Cara's mother, Camilla Thompson, was our very first executive director. She served this agency for over 30 years. So thank you again for celebrating with us today and for supporting us. I appreciate it. Thank you.